Welcome to Two Wrongs Make a Right with Austin and Bob. Two guys who are usually wrong but always think they're right.
Two wrongs make a right. That's the name of this podcast that we decided on. And let's talk about how we got to this point in the podcast.
Yeah, the first thing you do is you think, "Oh, I'm just going to order a mic, record," and then you're thinking that can't be all. That can't be all it's worth. There's
Yeah,
got to be more to it than that.
yeah. At first, it's like, it's not that many steps. You don't have to go that far, that many hurdles to do this. Yeah, you just record something on get a mic, record it, put it out there, call it a day. But yeah, you start to think about it, and when you start getting into it, you realize how many more steps that you didn't ever foresee happening just keep popping up.
Yeah, so today we thought we'd kind of just give our experience up until this point because it's a little bit more to it than that. So the first thing we did was, or at least I did, I don't know about you. You don't like to do research, but the first thing I did was start to do a little bit of research.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of you being first and doing research, you did come up with the name, and two wrongs make a right, because we always have we've known each other for a long time, and we'll always bring up a topic, and we'll both sometimes we agree on it, sometimes we have completely different opinions on it, but every time, no matter what it is or how we talk about it, we both think that we're 100% right, and the other person's 100% wrong. Like if it's a disagreeing topic, and so we always think we're right every time.
It's definitely that way, and I think one of the things that inspired this is we had a pretty heated argument. Um, we were online, and we were with some friends, and we had a pretty heated argument where we were yelling at each other, and we were both 100% thinking that we're right, and we're just listening to them just laugh their ass off.
Yeah,
So we thought, why not bring this to the outside world?
Yeah, the peanut gallery had a chuckle at our expense there. And again, we both walked away from it thinking that we were 100% right. The person was completely crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. So yeah, it kind of made sense. Two wrongs. We're both wrong, but it ends up making it right. And, as we say, we're probably both going to be wrong every time, but there's some times where one of us will be right or maybe both of us will be right. You never really know.
We're smart in our mind. We're
We,
smart.
we think we are.
So yeah, the hard thing about with starting off the research is there's 20,000 articles on there telling you how to properly do your podcast.
Yeah, everyone that's ever done a podcast thinks they're an expert on doing a podcast, which some of them are, but some of them probably aren't. So it's hard to read through when you're going to see all the. It's like that's a huge glob of research. How do I pick which one is accurate? Who knows what they're talking about? Who doesn't? It's really hard to differentiate between those.
Right, and that was the first piece that I noticed is how do you filter through this information? And I'll tell you right now I don't have an answer to it. But the first thing I did notice is these guys figured out quite in the beginning on their first few links on the Google search results. They sure figured out how to try to sell you a book or something for 20 or 30 bucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, you always got to make a buck. You know how this world works. So, yeah, they're thinking like, I have this free advice to give out about making a podcast, which maybe I've done it or something. This person, but also, how can I do that? But also make something back for myself. So, yeah, let me throw in, let's say our software for recording, or throw in a book or whatever they're trying to sell you on top of their free advice. I do love that aspect.
All right, yeah, they're like, oh, here's a little taste of what we're giving you, and it's like, what could you possibly give me? Uh, what else could you possibly give me that's worth me spending money on you versus just spending that money on getting a mic and just kind of figuring out as I go.
Yeah, so we kind of picked through some of that research that we found out there, but also both of us have listened to podcasts for a long time, and so we do have some experience of maybe not making one, but we kind of know what it's about and maybe how it works a little bit. So I think that's helped us more maybe than some of the research, because with the research, like I said, it's a crapshoot. Half of it is just is someone trying to make a buck, or they don't know what they're talking about, or it's outdated, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and what comes along with that is you kind of lose the more research you do and the more uh, cost stuff gets thrown in your face with all this great, quote unquote information. Is you kind of forget the spirit of why you're interested in it is just to get out there, do what you want to do, and kind of let it flow. And you're starting to think, how can I make it a business versus how can I enjoy? We're doing this to like have enjoyment.
We don't want you to. If people that come in and listen to this, or even if it's just for us to listen to it, that's fine. Yeah, it's an outlet for us, but other people that listen to it, yeah, it's a way to hear a different take on something that you might not have, or just want to kick back and listen to something while you're driving to work. And so it doesn't have to change your day, but it could be something that may bring a little bit of joy to your day, or at least a little bit of zone out time to your day. So that's fine.
Right, and that's where we kind of came into like how long should this thing be? Because there's just so many podcasts out there who are just hour and a half for just a really ridiculous long time that you're obviously not going to listen to all of it, and I never do. That's why
No.
they have clips of those long podcasts.
Yeah, that's the problem with what I was saying about us listening to podcasts, because a lot of the ones we do listen to or have listened to, yeah, a lot of them does seem to be longer, over an hour and stuff. And I'll definitely listen to sometimes I listen to the whole thing, but sometimes I pick, I'll pick and choose certain parts of it or clips, like you said. But so yeah, we're trying to decide where do we want to fit on the length, go longer, go shorter to be different. So we'll probably be a little shorter than some of those hour long ones, and that'll probably be where we feel more comfortable, I think.
Yeah. Unless there's more than just us listening to our own podcast out there, and we get some kind of a feedback, like 20, what, maybe somewhere around a half hour is a good commute time and stuff like that for people to just kind of zone out.
Yeah, it's a nice
So I
little
think that's
chunk.
where we settled.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think it'll be good. And I mean, if people want us to go longer, if there's people that do listen to this, they want to hear longer versions. As dumb as we are, we can talk. We can drag it out if we have to.
Yeah. I feel like hearing idiots talk. We're your guys.
Yeah. So we started after we figured out the time and kind of zoned down that lower time, 20, 30 minutes. Is trying to figure out, all right, where we're going to record this thing at. Like where actually, what we're not in the same place. You live down in Florida. I'm in Illinois. So we have to find a way to record at the same time from different locations, which is a little hard.
It's definitely challenging. And with the first service we tried, we thought it was good. And once we started exporting it and everything like that, we noticed there were just huge problems with audio delay. And we thought, can this even work?
Yeah, speaking back to that research we talked about, how some of it is a crapshoot. That first place we used, a lot of this research had it as the best place, or definitely one of the best places to use. And we thought it was, at first we're like, yeah, this is a really good place. But then we started listening back, and the audio is all off sync, and I'm talking for something you haven't even said yet, and it's like this is a complete catastrophe.
An absolute nightmare. Yeah, and you're right. That goes hand in hand with the research thing because it was just everywhere, and it just built onto that who do you trust kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it had some good features, but overall it was a real struggle.
So the second one we went to, which is the one we're using now, it's definitely been much cleaner. The audio has been perfect every time, so no complaints there. Maybe a little less features, but I think we definitely taken the quality audio over the features if we have to make that comparison or that choice. So we've been pretty happy with this. That was it was a hurdle to get to the good service, but now I think we're pretty locked into the service that we're using.
Right. We had our mics for a good bit, and people were often telling you just need mics. And we had it for a good bit when we were testing the service and doing some other things. And we realized we hadn't even recorded an actual episode yet.
Yeah. So yeah, we had the mic sitting there waiting to be used, and then we actually need to use these mics somewhere to record something. So once we did that, and I got that figured out, we started thinking about we had the episode, we had the name, and it's like, all right, we're gonna need like a logo to actually put on these services we're gonna use. So we need to know, are we gonna be able to create a logo ourselves? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. We did kind of attempt that, but we're not graphic designers by any means. So enter Fiverr. If anyone's ever had an experience with Fiverr, you'll know that it's usually quite unique because everyone on there is not a native English speaker. So a lot of things get lost in translation.
Yeah, we've definitely had experience with Fiverr over the years, and definitely majority of them are not from the United States or do not speak English primarily as a language. So when you're trying to convey what you want from the Fiverr, it's sometimes the language comes back and it's a little bit incognito, or not incognito, ships passing in the night. You're talking about this, I'm talking about this. We don't know what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, and that we could almost do one on Fiverr really, and we may at some point. But so we get these we got some logos back, and they weren't. The first one really looked like he took the idea and ran with it, which we liked. The second one, I sent him a picture, and it looked like he just kind of threw it on there and said, "Well, they like this picture, so let's just make something with it." And the third one, he just threw his hands up, I think.
Yeah, so he gave us three different designs we can choose from. Obviously, yeah. And the first one, great, like you said. Second one, he basically just took to what we gave him and just slapped some colors on it, and that's fine, I guess. And the third one, he's like, you know what? I'm phoning this in completely. I don't even. This is nothing.
My description said I'll give 3, so here's the third one.
Yeah,
I really don't care what this looks like.
I promised 3, so you're getting. Even though the third one's not anything, it's a waste of everyone's time. Yeah, I promised 3.
I felt
so
embarrassed for him.
Yeah, I was embarrassed. It degraded his overall work because the first one was really good, and we do like it. And that's what
Yeah,
we're going to use.
and we're gonna settle. We've settled on some iteration of it, which is funny because we had to make some little changes to it, and I messaged him, and of course he comes back with two. He came back with one, and I don't know where he got it, but he had moved he had moved a big section of the logo into the center and made everything really tiny, so you couldn't even read the name. And yeah,
He did that?
what happened after? Well, I was gonna say what happened after that. It's because I emailed him and I said, well, I tried to make it clear on what we wanted, and so I get this email, I get this message back from him, and this is so fantastic because you have to remember he's an artist. He said, "Hi there, I didn't quite get the revision. It's confusing." Smiley face. Could you use a Word document, then draw on each cover stating what needs to be done? I don't understand which font color needs to be changed. Apologies for the stress. This to ensure we get it right.
Wait, wait,
Smiley
wait, wait.
face.
Hold on a second. I did not know about this. Hold on. He wants you to use a Word document and then draw on it? Does he not understand how Word?
The artist that
Yeah.
we're in cahoots with, we're paying,
Yeah.
wants me to become an artist here.
Well, I love that, but also the fact that he is an artist, like you said. So he knows what, and he does most of this on computers, we're assuming, right? This is all digital stuff. So he knows what you can draw on and what you can't draw on, right? You can't draw on a Word document last time I checked.
You can annotate, which I think is what he's trying to get me to do, is kind of circle something or something, and then write exactly what I want on each
I
part
know,
of it.
but like if it's a
You know how much
picture,
work that is?
we're trying to edit a picture. We can't. Well, how are we gonna put a picture on Word document and then edit it? Like, what does that even mean?
Listen, I know you're from like 1912 in terms of your technology, but
I'm a little behind.
you can't throw a picture in a Word document. That's not the problem here. The problem is we paid this guy to design a logo, and he's firing it back at me to become the designer.
Oh, I'm definitely with you. I'm just saying. I just thought it was funny how he's like a Word document. How about some MS Paint? All right, that's right. I'm a more MS Paint kind of guy. Anyways, the point is,
MS Paint work.
you're definitely right though. I mean, we didn't. We're paying you to design and to do drawing, to draw on it and edit it. We're not. This guy. Remember, this guy claimed, by the way, unlimited revision, so we can revise as much as we want to. So you can do. So if you keep coming at us, we don't do the revisions. You do the revisions. You're the artist.
Yeah. Yeah, which is he basically wants us to do the revision for him, and then he's going to make the final changes to make it look pretty. Which, if you say this is the problem that we inherently have with Fiverr is if you say you speak English, you're going to run into this lost of translation stuff all the time. And I was very clear on what we wanted, and I actually clarified it. I didn't think I could. I clarified it even more. It was even more condensed this next time, and he said, "Okay, thanks," but I don't think this is going to work out. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, we have while we're recording this, we don't have final logo, but we're assuming with the fourth revision we just gave him that hopefully he can get us to where we want to be, because it's not like it's that complicated of a change. But I do wonder why would he offer? I mean, if you were on, why would you offer unlimited revisions? That sounds like a nightmare.
I don't think I would offer that on any service. You're
Sounds
asking for
terrible.
trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we could just keep going. We're not going to, because we want to have it's really close to perfect for us right now. But like I can see people that are like really picky or just keep changing their mind, and like they just keep changing for this guy for like a week or more than a week. Like who would want to deal with the same customer that you already you want to move on to the next customer?
I would lose my mind. Could you imagine dealing with the same customer for
No.
even a few days?
Yeah, even like the third, probably the third revision came through
Well,
from
for
the same
no
person.
money, for no extra money.
That's the
you
point.
know.
Yeah, you're not getting paid each time. So when the third or fourth revision came in, I'd be like, all right, I'm done with this person. I did what you wanted. I'm moving on. But he said unlimited, so I guess it's working for him.
It's wild. It's just like I said. We'll probably end up doing an episode of Fiverr
Yeah.
at some point. It's such an entertaining venture.
Yeah, so hopefully we get that logo back soon, and we'll have that on these episodes. But then we got to figure out, the next thing we talked about was like how do we name the episodes? Like how do we come up with? Do you want to have like a catchy name or like an episode name or episode number? What are we doing there?
Right. Yeah. There's no real format to that, and all these guys have their own great ideas on what you're supposed to do. But I think we're going to end up kind of naming what we think is appropriate, maybe kind of funny to us, or whatever falls in between those two things.
Yeah, everyone has their own take on what to do with an episode and an episode name, I should say. And yeah, I think the easiest thing for us and what we'll probably do is just we want to give you some idea what we're talking about that episode. Not everything, not the whole details, but like a couple things we're going to hit on, or just so you kind of know where we're going before you listen to it.
Yeah, and as we go along too, we kind of talked about it. Another thing we're unaware of was we have to probably mark ourselves as explicit content. because
Yeah,
since it's this casual conversation, we can't guarantee we're not going to drop some f-bombs.
yeah, and you know, I don't like how there's only two choices. You're either explicit or you're clean. There's no in between. There's no like third category of like a little explicit. So it's like if we drop any cuss words at all, we got to be explicit. So yeah, we decided, all right, you know, we can't promise we're never going to say a cuss word. I mean, we're not going to be you know, we're not going, you know, with Sam Kennison in here dropping a bunch of crazy, you know, yelling and cussing everybody out. But you know,
I might
well, you I mean,
at some
obviously
point.
you will. You're a loose cannon, but you know, sometimes words get said, and it's fine. We don't want to censor ourselves, so we got to go explicit. But that's one of the things you just don't know. Maybe people don't search explicit as much, or maybe it's not as popular. I don't really know.
It's a strange circumstance to be in because yeah, I wouldn't think of a lot of things I listen to as explicit, but yeah, if you drop, you know, if you drop some curse words here and there, drop some f-bombs, you're explicit. That's it.
Explicit. That's
Done.
us. We're explicit. So
We, you know, we can't be PG-13. We're either NC-17 or G.
yeah, we're parental advisory on the cover of this episode, or the cover
Wow.
of this show, I should say.
Oh boy,
So then we got to figure out, you know, where to.
yeah, that's a logo.
To like a parental advisory in the corner. So we got to figure out where to host after that, and where to actually post these episodes. And so we're trying to figure out, you know, what service we do that on, and that's you gotta you know, link to each individual. It's not just like, oh, you go here and you do all the services. You have to go to each individual service, create an account with each individual service, follow all their specifications to get published on their thing, their platform.
Right. It's a lot more work than this whole thing. That's kind of the point of doing this is just to kind of talk about it. It's a lot more work than just ordering the mics, as people say. And so you have to pass all these guidelines from different companies, and it could take 10. You could, even though you're ready to go, you did a podcast. Let's say your first one was about a current event that happened that day or yesterday, or it's very recent. You could be up to 2 weeks before you're even live.
Yeah, they say it could up to 2 weeks to get approval, or whatever they call it, reviewing it. But yeah, they make it seem like you just get a microphone, record, and you can be published like that day, and like you're starting your podcast in one day. No, not even close to right. I wish it worked that way. I wish it was a little easier to get there, but yeah, you got to get through all the hurdles, all the red tape, and then it could still take 2 weeks at the end once you're ready to go. So there you go.
Yeah, it's again, it's so much more than I ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And then on each one of those different platforms, you know, you have to put like a description of what your show's about. And so like, you know, they all have different character counts and stuff like that, and different amounts. And so, you know, one of the ones we're using, it says, I thought it said 500 characters, but I read it again, it's 500 letters, which I've never heard anywhere online in my life. It's always characters, right? Always. Or words,
Always.
I guess, but letters? They're
It's
counting
yeah,
letters.
it's always yeah. I guess you could say words, but it's always our characters is the de facto standard.
Yeah, so it says 500 letters, what it says, which is it says like 10 to 20 words. I'm like, that's 10 to 20 words. How big are these words? If it's 10 to 20 words, it's going to be 500 letters. So that's another thing you got to deal with. And, you know, we can have a set one to use in all the platforms, but if this next one's 400 letters or characters, you know, maybe we have to cut it or add whatever, you know. So that's another whole thing that I go through.
Yeah, just coming up with the description and everything like that, and making it fit. And yeah, but it's such a strange thing to not be character counts. And going back to the audio thing is how most people just tell you just get the mic and record. That wasn't so easy for you.
Yeah, I had a little problem with that. So, you know, it's funny. I was buying a new laptop right when we were starting this up, and I was like, you know what, this is perfect. I just bought this new laptop. It was on, nice.
Hang on. I this needs to be prefaced with I'm more of a tech guy, and I told Bob here that what he probably should spend,
Okay.
and
All right.
he didn't listen to me.
Hey, as we said, the episode, the show name. You know, we don't always agree on things. All right. So
Right, but we're adamant in our ways. So this is
yeah.
a perfect example of how this show came to be.
So there was like a really good, I guess it was back to school sale or something. Or no, it was Prime. That's right. It was Prime Day on Amazon. And so it's like, all right, it's a good laptop. I'm gonna buy this right when we're starting the pod. So I'll use the laptop to record. Perfect. And so, we bought the same mic. We have the exact same mic, but we don't have the same computer, obviously. And so as we're recording these little, tests to see how it's going to sound and, make sure it's synced up and everything, you sound perfect like you're in a recording studio on the same microphone I'm using.
I'm professional.
You're professional, obviously. You always have been. And I sound like I'm calling you on a phone, like trying to just come in on your mic off my phone call or something. It sounds horrible.
It did. It sounded like speakerphone off my mic.
So
You called me, I put you on speakerphone.
yeah, it's so bad, and we're racking our brains like it's a brand new laptop, with the same mic you're using. It sounds perfect on your end. What is going on here? And so eventually, I'm like, I had my girlfriend's laptop, which is a little higher end. Don't say anything, please. I know you're going to comment on that. A little higher end laptop, and of course, what do you know? Somebody was right. It sounded perfect on a higher end laptop.
But I never got a "you were right"
No, you'll
anything
never
along
get that.
those lines.
You'll never get
I'll
that.
never get that in my life. I just
No,
got, how could this possibly be?
you'll
How could this happen?
you'll
Not,
you'll go
oh,
to
you
your
were
grave.
right.
You'll go to your grave waiting for your right thing. All right, so just don't expect that happening.
I'll go to my grave waiting for it, and I'll be decomposing waiting
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
It's
you
never
will
gonna
be.
happen.
Never happening. So then, anyways, so my girlfriend left town this week, so, or she took the laptop away. So now we got to find another way to record. So, luckily I have a new PC that to record on. So, again, the point is, you just plug in a mic and record. Not always the case. I'm on the third machine I've used to record, and it's good, but it took a lot of hassle to get to this point.
It did. I think if we weren't so kind of excited just to spout nonsense at people and be interested in who actually would want to hear this nonsense, I think we would have given up a long time ago, because there really is there is a little bit of a drive to keep this thing going, especially when you run into as many hurdles.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like much, but on top of your day when you're already working or you're doing something, it is an added level of stress that you don't need to put yourself through.
Yeah, and again, we researched, or you researched it more than I did, about what it's going to take to get started, and we definitely knew it was going to take some stuff, but we didn't expect all the hurdles that kept popping up. So, it's nice to show kind of what we went through. Even like the audio. We first recorded them, and it's like the audio files are huge, and I don't, you can't really put audio files that huge on these platforms because people can't download them that big, or they upload too slow. So you got to figure out how to compress the audio down. That's a whole thing. We got to figure out how to do that. The best program to use to compress it. How small do we compress it?
Yeah, the audio compression was a whole nother can of worms that when we thought we were close, we are like, okay, we're right here. It's what's going to happen next, and yeah, that ended up being the next issue. And really, I actually, to go back to the laptops there for a second, I had gotten a new laptop, and I decided that I like to be kind of out in the open instead of in an office space,
Mm-hmm.
But you don't think about your clock. Like, I have a clock here that dings. You don't think about, I mean, I did think about, I have two dogs. I didn't think about the animals here. But at any time, I'm a ticking time bomb, and I'm living on the edge.
Yeah,
And I know you have your cat can be quite loud as well, because I've heard
Yeah.
many times.
The same way when I had the laptop, and when I was originally using laptops to record, I'm trying to find a best place in the house to record. Like this one room, there's a perfect room for it, perfect setup for it, but that's where like the big AC vents in the wall there, and it's super loud. Can't go there. If I go in any of the main rooms, my cat's gonna be all over me, and he cries all day. So I'm trying to find the best place that's no noise, no echo off the walls, because some rooms have echo in this house. Like I really only have one room in this whole house that I can actually record in that actually sounds quality. So again, something you don't think about. I'll just record anywhere, but like you could do that. But then you're going to have all these background things or interruptions or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, and you don't normally think of an environment having an impact on how you talk. But when I'm in the room, I normally think of you're locked in. It's some kind of calm work thing. But I'm out here in the living room. You got windows. You're open, and you just kind of feel like you're more relaxed, if that makes sense. The environment, changing the environment, even just a room, makes a large difference.
And speaking of being relaxed in the environment, it's like we don't want people to hear us recording this. We don't know what this is. We don't know if it's going to be anything. We're not professional podcasters. Obviously, we're just doing this for the first time, so we're not really ready to have everyone listening to what we're doing until we feel comfortable with it. We know it's a real finished product. It's a little bit polished. We kind of know what we're doing. All right, then maybe we wouldn't be as embarrassed having someone hear it or someone we know having a link to it or something like that. Like that's a whole thing too.
We're pretty much on the same page right from the beginning too. It's kind of well, I don't know, but should we have friends listen to it? No, I think we just kind of need to put it out there and become better at it before we have anyone close to us listen to it or record in front of anybody, because it's a whole nother. It's weird. It's almost like putting yourself out there a little bit.
Speaking of that,
exposing yourself.
Speaking of that, I was texting you about it last week. I didn't tell you this. And I sent a text, it's supposed to be to you, about, recording a pod. It actually went to my girlfriend, Allie, instead. And so she was confused about it. And, she came home that day. And when she came home, and she was like, I was like, oh yeah, I just, I was trying to set up a pod, record with Austin. And she was like, she looked at me, we've been together for 8 years. And she looked at me like, what are you talking? And she had no idea She now had, apparently, this is what she claims, all right? She claims I never even told her we were doing a pod. She said he had
That
no
can't be
idea we
true.
were ever doing a pod. How
That
insane
can't
is
be
that?
true.
We lived together for 8 years, and me and you have been doing this, talking about this and planning this for, at least a couple months. I think we've been talking about this. I don't know.
We're not exactly quiet when we talk, and you have a professional. I mean, I guess you'd call it professional microphone sitting there.
Yeah. So she she wasn't upset about it, but she was kind of like, why would you, and by the way, I'm not claiming
So there was no encouragement, I guess, is,
Well,
is
yeah.
what I find funny.
Definitely funny, but also I think she's wrong. I mean, as we've discussed, I think I'm right all the time, and I think everyone else is wrong. Not all the time, most of the time. I know I told her about it. That's and maybe I didn't tell her the full details, but I know I mentioned that we were doing it, and it was down. It wasn't like right now we're doing it, but we're working on getting it going. But she claims I never
This is great, yeah.
mentioned any of it.
It's great. I mean, it's great. That part's great. Which I'm pretty sure that we've talked about you mentioning it to her anyway, because you said you weren't going to record. Just like I said, we don't want anybody there while you're recording the initial stuff. And it's just funny because this is the perfect example of why I wouldn't want to tell anybody, is because it's not like, oh, that is a good idea. You should do a podcast. I do find your arguments entertaining, or the words of encouragement were not there. And
Yeah,
that's a perfect example of what we just discussed.
that's exactly what. That's why we've been basically just the two of us, just trying to figure this out on our own. We're not like, oh, hey, let's get some advice from people, and let's get some sample ideas of what they think about it or advice they can give us. But no, we're just on our own. Apparently, I don't tell anyone about this, which I know is not true. But she's going to claim that, and that's fine. She's going to think what she thinks. But I know I told her about it, and now that it's actually real, so maybe we'll let her listen to it at some point. She can
At
see
some
what she thinks
point,
about it.
when we feel like we're there, right? I mean, when we feel like we've really got a good format, or not, when we just feel like we're putting out stuff that we're confident in, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're not confident in anything we're doing, but we're going to make
But
it
we
work.
think we're right.
Yeah, we definitely think we're right about it. And we're going to take our opinions and on something like this.
Who's going to listen to this?
No one's listening to this. No
We
one's
think
listening to this.
we're talking like somebody is. Who's going to listen to it? We don't know.
Yeah, nobody
Us?
knows. We don't know what we're doing, but we're gonna figure it out as we go. We'll improve. So maybe we won't start off as good, but we'll work out the rough edges as we go. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be an interesting journey if we get anybody outside of us listening to it, because they could experience our beginning. This is just kind of a fun way to get things going. Let people know, that other people know who are thinking about starting a podcast, that it's just much more than ordering a mic.
Yeah, let you know a little bit more behind the scenes of how it doesn't just it's not a one-day process. This is many steps, a lot of research you got to do, go through all these hurdles to get there. And then once you have that episode, like we have now, recording now, now I got to figure out how we can end the episode, because I don't know how to end this thing. I have no idea.
How do you end it?
There's a lot of ways to end it. I could just cut it off. I could do a lot of different things. And just I'm just gonna apologize ahead of time, because I'm probably not gonna know how to end it. It's probably not gonna end well half the time. I don't know what I'm doing. We don't know when to end. There's no set time. We don't have like a timer. It's like we just have to figure out. All right, that's enough. Let's call it. So that's kind of, don't you think that's how we're gonna do it?
Well, we're not turning any bottles of sand over on this one and counting down. It's just gonna go.
It's just gonna go, and eventually, sometimes it'll cut off just in the middle, at the end of a sentence, and you'll be like, "Whoa, that was abrupt," but it happens sometimes. Like maybe today,